In the last part of the tutorial, in part 6, we'll be talking about some of the computational tools for rhythm analysis of Chinchu. So when we say computational tools for rhythm analysis, so this is what we mean. So we start from audio, and then rhythm analysis. We'll talk about three main different tasks, mainly onset detection, percussion pattern analysis, and then segmentation based on rhythm. And in each of them we'll address certain specific tasks such as instrument wise onset detection, which Rafael was mentioning earlier, and also look at syllabic transcription, which is kind of one of the unique features of Chinchu music. And when we come to percussion pattern analysis, there are two different tasks which we want to address through the tutorial. We'll address different aspects of each of these tasks in different details. So to quickly recap, we'll first start with a quick introduction to rhythm and percussion, just to recap what and reinforce what Rafael has mentioned already. So as we know, there are 5 different percussion instruments in which are mainly used in Pekin opera. It is a part of the martial section of the set of instruments. First we'll see the timbral characteristics of these instruments here. There is a clapper plus at the drum, you saw the ban, but then there is also the drum which is combined together. They have similar timbre, so they can be grouped together. It sounds like this. So it has a very sharp attack, and here we see the spectrogram of each of these instruments. The numbers that you see at the bottom of the slide are the numbers that have been marked in the waveform there. So all the 1 onsets correspond to the bangu. It has a very sharp attack and a very localized frequency signature, as we can see. So the second instrument which is used is the large gong, which is this. So it's the last one here. It has a pitch which kind of decreases over time, and it's very loud. The third one is the set of cymbals, which is very broadband and then has energy spread all over the frequency range. This is a cymbal here. Let's listen to it. So it has a sustained sound, and there are certain variations in which the cymbals are played. It can be played openly, in which it sustains for a long time, or it can be closed, so as needed. The last one, which is an interesting instrument, is the small gong, which sounds like this. And we can see the signature here. It has the pitch that's going up, and then these 4 instruments mainly are part of the percussion instruments. And then one important characteristic of these instruments is that they come together to form a syllabic percussion system. So what do we mean by that? So mainly these syllables have been formulated in music practice to be mnemonics for oral transmission of the repertoire. So these are syllables which are onomatopoeic, which means that they kind of represent the underlying acoustic sound, and then they are vocalized, and then they can be used to define and describe percussion patterns. As we saw, Rafael defined a percussion pattern in terms of vocalized syllables. So the advantage of this being that it forms a language for percussion, and since it forms a language, it has a very clear analogy to speech, which we want to explore and then use in our approaches. And then it's a musically meaningful representation, which means that it can be used for many tasks, and then it's also important in terms of music. It's musically motivated. The other advantage of using the syllables is that they also encode some of the subtleties in articulation, dynamics, and timbre. So the loudness of each of the syllables that are played is also encoded when you speak out the pattern in some sense. So what are the syllables that are used? So mainly the syllables can be defined as a combined timbre of the ensemble, like there can be multiple combinations of different instruments which come together, and then the ensemble stroke, that's a syllable. And there are many syllables that are in use. In fact, I have grouped them here in terms of syllables, and then the instruments that are involved in playing of that syllable, and then a symbol which we can use for making it shorter and then remembering it. So the main syllables are the ones which are played with the bangu, which is a drum, and then they can all be grouped together. They all have different functional roles, like for example long and dong are used at the beginning of the percussion pattern, but in terms of timbre it's the same drum. So for our engineering analysis purposes, we could use that as a single stroke by just the bangu. And then we have the chalo, which is the small gong, and then those are the syllables, and then we have the naubo. There are of course compound syllables here, which is the che, which is the cymbals plus the small gong, and then we have the last set of syllables, which is the tsang, which is actually the large gong, which has to be played, whereas there are other two instruments which are optional, which means that a specific syllable need not be only a single combination of instruments, but then it represents a combined timbre. As long as the large gong is being played, the syllable would be called a tsang, for example, and the other two instruments are optional. So these variations are some of the things which we need to note when we are working with percussion patterns here. And then, so with these syllables, we define percussion patterns. So here is an example of a percussion pattern. I would first play this for you and then see how it goes. So the score which is shown here is quite indicative. It kind of shows how it progresses. There are the instruments here and the set of syllables written here, both in Chinese characters and in pinyin. So let's look at this. I'll track this as we listen to this so that we know where we are in the score. So as we see, we could track it through the set of syllables that are here, the thai, chang, the set of syllables that we see here. And then there are of course, so we can define the percussion patterns to be a sequence of syllables as we see here, and then they're used to mark important structural points in an aria, which means that by identifying percussion patterns we can structurally identify what's coming next in a way. And then the advantage here is that they are limited in number, so there are only a list of set of patterns that are played, and each of them has a name, and then they are quite well defined in terms of the sequence of syllables played. But of course there are some challenges in terms of that what we see here, the part here which is marked between these two lines, this is a sub pattern of the main the whole pattern, which can be repeated as often as many number of times as they want, because it's associated with an action on the stage, and then as long as the action is still going on, the particular subsequence can be repeated as many times, and then the rest of the pattern is continued once the action is over, and then it moves on to the main recitation. So these subsequences are important to be identified, and then only certain patterns have subsequences, and it's important to note them. So with all this introduction, one of the primary goals that we have is, in terms of rhythm analysis, is to segment the aria based on rhythmic characteristics, which would mean that we would want to identify the percussion patterns that are present in terms of in this aria, which is Dawanto, Manchangchui, and Zuotho. This is from the same aria that we heard earlier on, and it has 3 different banshi, in fact many different banshis. The first one is Daoban, Yonban, Liu, and then Liu Shui and Sanban. So we want to segment given an aria into these parts. We want to identify the percussion patterns and the different banshi that occur in the aria. So to sum up, in a way, there are many challenges to rhythm analysis. The first of them is to look at banshi, and as Raphael mentioned earlier, it has information from multiple streams. So we have the percussion, as Raphael pointed out, he marked the downbeat, so we can listen to that. We can also listen to voice, which has both both the melody and the lyrics of the voice, both have information on the banshi. And then of course the chinku also helps in a way to mark the banshi. So it's multimodal, so we can look at each of these, and then in this at least we'll look at only the percussion. The other 2 aspects are to be explored further. And then since Chinchu music is mostly recitative, and then so it has very expressive timing. There are certain syllables which can be sung very long or sung shorter, which means that we don't know if there's a very regular pulse in the audio. In fact, it's not there. So we would have to take care of this expressive timing in our approaches. And then there are of course non-metered sections. Daoban, which we saw here, is non-metered, so it's free rhythm, free meter. So we have to take care of that, and how do we handle that, and how do we analyze that. And then the definitions of tempo, beat, and a downbeat have to be redefined in some way, and then to match the characteristics of the music, the definitions do not directly extend. So that's one thing we need to address. And when it comes to percussion patterns, as we saw, there is a variability in timbre of instruments over different playing styles, and then there are subsequence repetitions, parts of sequences that are repeated more than once. And then there can be addition and omission of strokes. The score which we saw was indicative, so there can be additional drum strokes, and then there can be a couple of strokes which can be added. As we saw, a syllable can have a compound stroke wherein an extra small gong can also be played, so we have to take care of that. And then the tempo of these percussion patterns is quite varied. There is no one tempo on it. It is played, it can be played faster or slower, and then we have to handle that as well. So let's start with the first task. The first task we'll be looking at is onset detection. So what is an onset in this present context? In the present context, an onset is a transient, and then it has an onset which occurs, and then there's an attack and a decay of the particular note or the stroke that we are looking at. And a typical approach in MIR to do onset detection is this, wherein we start with the original signal and then we have a pre-processing which is optional, from which we do a reduction into an onset detection function which is computed not as often as the audio signal, which has a much smaller sampling rate, which typically computed 1 sample per audio frame. And then we use this detection function and then do probably a peak picking to do onset detection, wherein we'll say where the onsets occur. So this is a typical MIR approach, and of course we can use temporal or spectral features for doing onset detection. And in this tutorial at least, we'll look at a band-wise spectral flux, which is a popular feature which kind of measures the spectral magnitude change over time as a measure of onset detection function. So let's look at an example. So here I've marked the spectrogram of an introduction section of the aria. It has the percussion patterns at the beginning, and then this is the place where there's a sequence of drums that are being played, and then there's the vocal starts here. So we can see different onsets of different instruments here. As we saw, Chualo has this rising pitch profile, and then the Dalo has a falling pitch profile, whereas the Ban has a localized spectral presence here. And then we have the Chinku, which has it's melodic, and then you can see the contours, and then the voice starts, of course. So in this tutorial, we'll look at how we get the Ban onsets. We'll focus on Ban and then see how we can get it. So essentially, we need to just look at this region in the spectrum and then track the Ban in that region. So here's the code to do that. The code is up in the tutorial web page. So here it's a Python code, and then we saw how we can use Essentia to do melodic analysis. Here we can see how we can do onset detection with that. So essentially what we are doing here is here, wherein for each of the audio frames that we can get from the Essentia frame generator, we compute the energy in a specific band of frequencies and then compute the spectral flux with the previous frame. So we compute how the energy in the specific band is changing over time in the magnitude spectrum. So if we do this, we get an onset detection function which looks like this. So what we have considered here is just the Ban onsets in the frequency band of 1100 Hz to 1700 Hz, and we can pick the prominent peaks out of this, and then as a part of it is zoomed out here, and then this is that region that we saw at the beginning, a series of Ban onsets followed by a set of Ban onsets which come further. So if you put it on the spectrogram, this is what we see. So these are the Ban onsets, and then it pretty much gets most of them, except that there are some of the false positives which we can see here. So this is when we said Ban has a very specific narrow range of frequencies which we can focus on. But then what if that's not the case? And how do we get the onsets of other percussion instruments, which is also important for us? So one approach which we explored was to do instrument-wise onset detection. So mainly for percussion instruments in this case, wherein we built bases for each of the instruments, spectral bases, and then we decomposed the input spectrogram into a set of bases for each instrument and the activation functions for each of these bases. We're using non-negative matrix factorization, and then based on the activation function which we get for each of the instruments, we could pick the peaks from those activation functions, which in a way tells us the onsets of each of the instruments separately. So it works well for percussion instruments in patterns. So wherein here we see the Bahn activation function and for the other instruments here as well. So this is in the paper, and then the data set used for this is also available. So it can be used for any experiments. Of course, so the next topic, once we have instrument-wise onsets, is to do a transcription of percussion patterns, wherein the task can be defined as percussion patterns need to be transcribed into its constituents. And what the constituents are is mainly, we can look at it in two different ways. One is we can say a percussion pattern is a sequence of combinations of percussion strokes. In which case we say that, okay, percussion patterns are instrument mixtures in which we say, okay, this particular instrument is playing at these places, whereas another instrument is playing at a different set of places, and there can be overlaps. So we want to decompose it into a mixture of instruments. The other one, which is more musically meaningful, is to say that the percussion pattern is a sequence of syllables. The task in such a case would be that given the percussion pattern, we would want to transcribe it into a sequence of syllables like this. So the first approach, we'll just briefly touch upon it, is wherein we'll call each of the instruments, we'll model each of them as a binary latent variable, wherein we say we don't know what's being played, and looking at the audio percussion pattern, we want to say where each of the instruments were playing. So this is in time, the blue markers here say where a particular instrument was being played, and then there are many ways to infer this based on the audio, and then we can do this, and then after this is a representation of a percussion pattern, though probably a syllable representation is more meaningful. This is one of the approaches which can be explored, of course. But what we've been mainly trying to do is to use percussion patterns as syllable sequences, and use the paradigm of connected word speech recognition with syllable HMMs. So we build an HMM for each of the syllables of the percussion pattern, and then use that. So mainly the approach is simple, wherein we take the audio patterns and take the transcriptions, and then we extract the features out of audio, mainly MFCC type of features, and then we can estimate an HMM for each of the syllables using embedded re-estimation, which would mean that we don't exactly need time-aligned transcriptions of the audio patterns. So once we have the syllable HMMs, when there is a new test audio pattern, we extract the features out of it, and then we can do a B2B decoding, wherein we'll get a sequence of syllables that were played in the particular audio pattern, test pattern that we gave as input. So what we have is a sequence of syllables that's here. So let's move on to the next task. We'll come back to percussion patterns in a while. But then before that, let's take a small detour and then go into segmentation. The primary task in segmentation, of course, as we said, is to segment the whole area into shorter segments, which are mainly the Banshee in this case. So the main tool that we'll use for this part would be the tempogram, which is a measure of periodicity in the onset detection function. And this is computed over longer windows, and it in a way captures the local tempo characteristics. So it could be visualized in some way as the spectrogram of the onset detection function in some way. So you take short segments of audio, and then you compute the Fourier transform of that. You take short segments of audio, then you extract the onset detection function from that, and then you compute the Fourier transform of the onset detection function, which gives you this in the time domain. So the code for that is here in some way. This is again from the same the set of scripts that we have for this tutorial. So here, this is the function that computes the tempogram given the novelty function, which is also the onset detection function here, and the set of parameters. The main function here is the compute Fourier coefficients given the novelty. So what it mainly does is to compute the Fourier transform. So here is where we see the signal and the cosine function, signal and the sine function, and then you add them up. So that gives the Fourier transform. So how does it look when it comes to if we look at it as an audio recording. So this is a tempogram, so this is time, and then we have the beats per minute, which can be estimated from the time interval of the hop size and the way we have computed the onset detection function. So here we have different, this is the whole area which we heard earlier on, and then this is the tempogram, and then we see some regions which have a higher periodicity, whereas some other regions which don't. So if we put the Banshee segmentation, which we saw earlier on top of this, we can distinctly see that some of the characteristics of each of the Banshee is captured in the tempogram. So Yuan Ban is a metered Banshee, so it's mainly 2/4, and here, because it's metered, we can see a very distinct periodicity here in terms of, we can say there is a tempo which we see here, whereas Dao Ban is free meter, and then we don't see a lot of periodicity anywhere. And two parts are interesting here. If you remember the aria that was played a little while ago, towards the end of it there was an increase in tempo in some sense, which can be captured to an extent here. So this, in an overall picture, the tempogram captures some of the aspects of the rhythm in the aria, but there are no specific features which we can identify directly from the tempogram, from which we can say we can do a segmentation of the tempogram into these different Banshee. So this is one direction in which we want to explore further, and then see if tempograms can be useful for segmentation of the Banshee. So it's definitely useful, but in order to do a practical task of segmentation, more work needs to be done on this tempogram. So coming back to percussion patterns, so we saw what transcription was, wherein we said given the sequence of syllables, we do a transcription, and then we get a sequence of, given an audio pattern, we do a transcription and get a sequence of syllables here. The next task would be to say from the sequence of syllables which pattern was played. So since percussion patterns in Chinchu are numbered, we could do a classification also and then say which pattern was played, so which is more interesting for us. So we saw till here using the syllable HMM and speech recognition based approach, wherein we got a sequence of syllables. What we can do next is given a library of patterns, each of them being a sequence of syllables, we want to match the sequence that we have got here with the library of patterns, and then obtain a single match which is the pattern that was played. Of course, we need to note here that we need to take care of the subsequence repetitions, as we saw. So there can, if it is a pattern that has a subsequence repetition, we need to take care of that in the syllable sequence as well. So which is one aspect which we need to be careful here. So one of the straightforward ways to do that is to use distance measures, which are mainly string edit distance measures. So the sequence of syllables are 2 strings now, as for all practical purposes, and then we can have different kinds of errors between the transcription and the actual the ground truth pattern that we have in the library. So there can be mainly 3 types of errors in strings: substitutions, insertions, and deletions. So here we have a ground truth label sequence, which is the one that we have in the library, and then what is here is the one that has been transcribed using the HMM of a particular test recording. So here we see that if these two are from the same recording, then we see that the red errors here are the substitutions, wherein a syllable has been substituted with a different syllable, and then there are several insertions wherein some syllables which were not there in the ground truth have been inserted. So accounting for these 2 errors, we can do an approximate string matching between these 2 sequences, and then in fact we can come up with several measures of accuracy. One is called the correctness or the accuracy, which takes care of different combinations of these into consideration, and then says how well we have performed in terms of distance. The unique feature of using a string distance measure like this is also that it can be used as a similarity measure not between the same patterns, but then if you have 2 different patterns. So if we have 2 different patterns like Manchang Chui and Dawan Tho, we can say how similar they are based on the edit distance between the syllable sequences that they represent. So which in a way helps us to put all the patterns together and then say define similarities between each of these percussion patterns. So distance measures here, string edit distance measures are useful for both these tasks. One is to transcribe, once we transcribe, use the syllable sequences and say which pattern was played, or it could also be used to define distance measures and also define a similarity between two different patterns which have different syllable sequences. So it's useful for both the tasks. So concluding, these are some of the references which are different, which talk about different aspects, and then the Tempogram toolbox in MATLAB is of course in that link there, and a Python port of the same toolbox is in the tutorial page. And so this is the part 6 of the tutorial where we looked about some of the computational tools for rhythm analysis. Thank you.